Both Prabhupada and Gurudev took the time to say that. An association of Mayavadis, atheists, and pseudo-religionists. Pseudo-religionists means hypocrites, pretend religionists. And 6, adopting the good behavior and character of devotees. So the first one is enthusiasm to carry out the rules that enhance bhakti. And a great example of this is Maharaj Ambarish, who had so much enthusiasm that the verse about him is that how he engaged every one of his senses in the service of the Lord. He engaged his mind in thinking of the Lord, his hands in touching devotees in service, his legs in walking to the temple, his nose in smelling the incense, his tongue in tasting the prasadam, his words in speaking the glories. And by his example and training, his whole country was Krishna conscious, and everybody was happy. He also becomes the example of number 3, that is determination in practice of bhakti, even in the midst of obstacles. What was the obstacle? Durvasa Muni. That is, he had the choice. He knew that he would be cursed by Durvasa Muni if he didn't wait until he came back to his palace to feed him. But he figured, even if I get cursed by Durvasa, to die, and even if I die, no problem. I'll come back again and continue my bhakti. Because bhakti always continues from the point that one left off in his next life. But if I offend bhakti and I respect the will of Durvasa, then I'll be in hell even if I'm in heaven. Then I'll be void of any life. Even in the greatest opulent situation, I'll be miserable because I won't have bhakti. I won't have the purpose for which I was created. So he's a great example of that. Number 2 is firm faith in the statements of the Shastra and the Guru, whose words are fully in line with the Shastra. In Germany, several years ago, we had a Harikatha festival with Srila Gurudev. One of his German disciples didn't come for the whole festival. But then she came to the airport when Gurudev was going on to the next country. So Gurudev asked her why she didn't come. And she said, because I had a lot of debts, so I had to keep working. She was an actress. So she just did her actress job. So then Gurudev said, the definition, actually you have no debts to anyone but to your Gurudev. And the definition of Shraddha, which is the beginning of bhakti, the first step in bhakti, is the faith that simply by engaging in the limbs of bhakti, all of my other subsidiary or secondary activities will be, I'll get the fruits of them. So, in other words, you should have had the faith that simply by coming to my programs, all your debts would be paid. Do you know the story of Srila Sanatana Goswami and the touchstone? Hands? Anybody knows it? Would anybody like to share it? Do you know it, Rasesri?
Is it the one where someone asks him for the stone and he gives, and then
Asked him what?
asks him for that he has the touchstone? Someone comes and asks for it, and he says, "Yeah, but I have a greater treasure."
Well, that's a little part of it.
I don't remember it clearly enough.
Okay, so this one man one Brahmana wanted to get a dowry for his daughter. He wanted to get his daughter married. So he went to Lord Shiva in Kasi to get wealth. And Lord Shiva said, my friend Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan, he'll give you wealth. So he walked all the way to Vrindavan, which is a very long walk. He was determined to get wealth. And he asked around everybody, do you know Sanatana Goswami? And they showed him his bhajan kutir. Then he said, I want wealth. Lord Shiva said, you'll give me wealth for my daughter's marriage. So Sanatana Goswami thought, wonder why he said that. All I have is a loincloth. So he said, then he thought, but Lord Shiva's my friend. They were great friends. So he must have some reason. So he said, yes, I do have. I have a touchstone buried in the sand by the garbage, by the bank of the Jamuna. So you can go get it there. A touchstone is anything that touches it, any stone that touches it, that stone turns into gold. So the man went and dug it up, and he had his touchstone, he tried it out, worked, and he's carrying it close to his chest on the way home. And on the way home he's thinking, if he's keeping this with the garbage, then he's got to have something better that he's keeping more close to him. So he walked all the way back, and he said, I know you have some better wealth than this. See, just by that moment's association, he started getting purified, 1/11 of a second. So Sanatana Goswami said, actually I do, but I'll only give it to you under a certain condition. You have to go to the Jamuna, throw the touchstone in the Jamuna. It takes a lot of leap of faith to do that. And then come back. So he did it. And then he said, first take bath and then come back. So he did it. And then Sanatana Goswami said, okay, now repeat after me. And he gave him initiation into the Hare Krishna mantra. And so the Brahmana, and stay here, don't go home. Automatically, your daughter's marriage will take place fine. So the Brahmana stayed there, and it happened. His daughter's marriage happened automatically. If Srila Prabhupada said that when your $100 problem is solved, then your $10 problem is automatically solved. So that faith is called Shraddha. If I water the root of the tree, then automatically the leaves and branches and flowers and fruits will automatically be watered. If I try to water them separately, let's water the fruit, let's water the leaf, what will happen? Can anybody say? They'll get moldy, yeah. They'll wilt and get moldy. When Gurudev asked me to explain that verse in England, so I explained about the tree and everything, and then he said, what happens if you water the leaves and fruits and flowers? And I said, nothing happens. He said, yes, something happens. They become moldy. So I give up my bhakti so that I can serve my materialistic relatives, friends, office workers, and things like that. And everything just gets worse. But if I serve Krishna, I can't engage in bhakti now because I have too many problems. So, what did Prabhupada say in Badger, Vasanti? Yeah, Gurudev.
Meditate on problems, which leads to more problems.
Can you speak a little louder?
Is that what he said?
That's the one. Can you turn that way? She's too shy. This way.
You meditate on problems and it leads to more problems.
It creates a what?
I couldn't understand what?
You speak loudly, slowly. Turn around to your audience.
Oh, she's behind me.
Can you just... She's too shy.
Talking about problems causes more problems.
Gurudev told me I have to give her a chance to speak. And he told her if she doesn't study and speak, then her mind will be like a desert. Oh. Go ahead. That goes for everybody. Go ahead.
That meditating on problems leads to more problems.
It creates a
bridge
to the world.
A problem.
of problems. And so what do you do then? How do you solve your problems? That way.
What he said?
What he said, yeah.
What he said.
If you meditate, you know what Gurudev said about his dear darling daughters? I don't want my daughters to be mew mew. I want them to be like lions jumping over the head of the elephants. So he said, if you meditate on Krishna, then what? Krishna will
put the problems on his head.
Carry all your problems on his head. He'll solve them. So this is Shraddha, or faith. And the fortitude, the great faith, here it's called Nischayad, which is the same thing. Fortitude in the practice of bhakti, even in the midst of obstacles. Or patience during the practice of bhakti, even when there's a delay in attaining the goal. Who's an example of fortitude when there's a delay that Prabhupada gives in the Bhagavad Gita? She's very tiny.
A little bird.
Yeah, you want to tell that?